Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Gyantimidandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Milidham Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshadharine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Could everyone hear? Thank you. I am very grateful to all of you for being with us this evening at the Bhakti Center. And I am very grateful that I have the opportunity to be with you. This evening, we are celebrating a festival that followers of the path of Bhakti Yoga celebrate all over the world. The people here have entitled the festival the Festival of the Divine Protector. I'll try to speak something very briefly on this subject. There's a famous Sanskrit verse that has one particular line that the acharyas, or the great spiritual master, throughout the ages have put great emphasis upon. Mahajano yena gatasa bandha. That the true path of spiritual perfection is to follow in the footsteps of great personalities. Because such devotees, their words, their lives, encapsulate, personify the very essence of all the scriptures, the philosophies, and the teachings. One such personality who is very prominent throughout the ages is Prahlad. His life inspired hundreds of millions of people, especially the time when he was 5 years old. Little Prahlad, after going through so many difficulties, trials, tribulations, challenges, dangers, never complaining, always humbly seeking shelter of the Lord, was offered any benediction. If you were offered by God, who can give you anything. You know, today in New York City, people may say, I could give you anything. They can promise to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge, but they can't. But the Supreme Truth actually has the capacity to give everything, anything. The Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richtati. That the Supreme Truth is the proprietor of everything that exists. And the Supreme Friend, the most intimate, loving friend of everyone, who never ever leaves us under any condition, because he resides forever in our hearts. We can forget him, but he's always there whenever we turn his way. So he offered Prahlad anything. Prahlad, he said, if I ask anything from you, then I'm not a devotee. I'm just doing business with you. Just give me this benediction. I do not desire any of the wealth of this world, or power, or strength, or position. I do not desire supernatural yogic powers. I do not want liberation from suffering. I do not even want to go to your supreme abode. My only desire is let me remain in this world, in places like New York City. He didn't specifically say New York City, but he meant New York City, among other places, where people are suffering due to forgetfulness of you. And let me give my life to try to help them. There was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, whose name was Basudev Datta. Shri Gaurachandra, there's a beautiful deity of him on our altar. Parama Karuna Pahundui Jana Nitai Gaurachandra. Rupa Goswami, he prayed Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratveshi Namo. Supremely compassionate. Of all avatars, of all the great incarnations of the Supreme Godhead, he extended the most mercy. And yet, Lord Chaitanya, when he was in a place called Jagannath Puri, in the presence of Vasudev Dutt, hearing Vasudev Dutt's prayer, the Lord cried. He was so emotionally overwhelmed, he could hardly speak. What is it that made the Lord like that? Vasudev Dutt said, I only want one prayer. I only have one prayer for one blessing from you. Please give liberation, the highest liberation, to every living entity within this universe. Every category of human beings, the animals, the insects, the lizards, the birds, the fish, wherever there's life, the jiva, give everyone liberation. Because it breaks my heart to see their suffering. Whether they're successful or failures in their material pursuits. They have to grow old, they have to get disease, and they have to die. And there's so many sufferings in between. I can't bear seeing them. They have forgotten that they're the eternal soul. Satchidananda, full of knowledge and full of bliss. They're identifying themselves simply with these sets of clothing called the body and the mind, which is like the outerwear and the underwear. And as we know, underwear gets dirty even faster than the outerwear. That's the nature of the mind. So many attachments, so many distractions. And ultimately, everything is ripped away from us. Their nature is anandam buddhivardhanam, to be happy with you, to be in love with each other because of their connection with you. Let them all be with you. And let me remain in this world. Let me accept the karma, all the sins of every living being in the universe so they can be liberated. And let me suffer on their behalf perpetually. Now, you or me can say this like as a poem, and people will say, very nice. But do we mean it? Are we willing to do that? The Supreme Being who is within our heart, the Paramatma, knows our intentions. Whatever we say, whatever we do. Lord Chaitanya understood that Vasudev Dutt was completely serious. This was the one and only desire in his life. Karuna. Such compassion. Lord Chaitanya cried. He said, Krishna cannot refuse your desire, but he won't make you suffer. But then Lord Chaitanya ended with a transcendental outburst of emotion. He said to Vasudeva, you are Prahlad. You personify his compassion, his devotion. Today, we will share with you a little of the story of Prahlad. It begins with his father, Hiranyakashipu. He was the most powerful ruler, dictator, practically that the world had ever seen. With his armies, with his own personal strength, with his intelligence, he conquered the worlds. But then he wanted more. He went way high into the mountains to a place called Mandarachala. and there performed severe processes of Ashtanga yoga, not for spiritual purification, but for supernatural powers. Because you see, the nature of this world, our desires are like fire. The more you satisfy them, the stronger the flames blaze. You cannot put out a fire by putting fuel in it. The more you have, the more you need. Unless our hearts are in goodness, then we can be satisfied whether we have a lot or a little. Hiranyakashipu conquered all directions, but he wanted more. He did such severe austerities, such disciplined yogic practices, asana, breath control, meditation. He received the boons that he could not be killed in the daytime or nighttime, inside or outside, by any man or any animal or any created being, by any weapons. He had developed so much strength. When he came from there was no competitor. He had total rule over everything and everyone. He was so powerful that if he just raised his eyebrow, even the devatas, what to speak of other rulers and conquerors, would tremble in fear and fall on his feet. Go ahead, raise your eyebrow and see what happens. Even the greatest dictators of the world, they don't have that power when they raise their eyebrows. Hiranyakashipu was so complete in his power and rule within this world. And he had a little son named Prahlad. He really wanted his son to carry on his legacy. One day, little Prahlad came to his father. He was sitting on a throne. And little Prahlad crawled up on his father's lap. His father was enormous in size. His father embraced him. Fatherly tears came from his eyes. Very affectionately, he said to little Prahlad, "What is the best subject that you learned in your school? What knowledge do you like the best?" And little Prahlad, so respectfully, he quietly, with folded hands, spoke these words. Tat sadhu manye survarya dehinam sada samudvignadiyam asadgrahat hitvat papatham grihamandakupam vanam gotoya dharim ashrayeta. He praised his father. He said, "O best of the demons." His father liked that. Opened his father's heart to hear what he was going to say. He said, "Little Prahlad," he said, "anyone who accepts this perishable material body as the self, anyone who forgets that they are an immortal soul, and who tries to be happy simply by satisfying this ever-changing mind and body, is like a person who's fallen in a deep, dark well where there's so much inevitable suffering. My dear Father, that's you. Please go to the forest and worship the Supreme Godhead, Sri Krishna. Father was shocked. He called the teachers of the school. Said, where has my son learned these things? They said, we never taught him these things. Honestly, really, we never taught him these things. He said, he has been influenced by my enemies. Now you bring him back to the school. He's just a foolish, ignorant little child. You bring him to the school, you protect him, and you teach him what I want him to learn. They said, yes. The two leading teachers were Shanda and Amarga, who were actually the sons of Hiranyakashipu's teacher, Shukracharya, like his guru. Shanda and Amarga, they took little Prahlad to a private place. Very sweetly, they asked him, Prahlad, you're such a nice boy coming from such a good family. Where did you learn these deviant teachings? Little Prahlad, he said, I have no interest in your teachings. I just can't hear it. Because all of your classes are based on the principles of how we can get the most of material resources to call our own. And in the process, this is my friend and this is my enemy. How I can get the most from my friends and how I can either defeat or protect myself from my enemies. That's the very basis of all these teachings. But I see that I'm an eternal soul. I'm part of Krishna. I'm part of God. Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashashtanandriyani prakritishtani karshati. Bhagavad Gita teaches every living being is a part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Being. He said, therefore, I don't see anyone as my friend, and I don't see anyone as my enemy. I see everyone with love. I can't discriminate. Seeing this equality in all living beings by recognizing the divinity within ourselves is the perfection of religion. And there's nothing that pleases the Lord more than worshiping him in this spirit. Little Prahlad said, what can I do? God is like a magnet. And I'm like a little iron file. I'm helplessly attracted to the beauty, to the sweetness, to the grace of God. There are many names of the Supreme Being who has descended in so many different religions throughout the ages. In the Vedic literatures, the name Krishna is very prominent because it means all attractive, like a magnet. And we are all like little files of iron, naturally attracted. But what happens if the iron is covered with dirt, pollutions? Then it's not attracted to the magnet. Its nature is to be attracted. Prahlad Maharaj explained there are 6 enemies: selfish passion, anger, envy, arrogance, greed, and illusion. all born of the ahankar, the false ego. And they're like dirt that covers the true nature of the spirit within us. And therefore we're not attracted. But the path of yoga, the path of religion, the path of spirituality, whatever we may call it, is actually meant to clean our hearts. And with that clean heart, something awakens, our natural love for the Supreme. And Prahlad declares, and all the great sages and rishis and saints of all time have declared, that when the heart becomes clean, when that attraction to God's love awakens within our heart, then it extends to all living beings. When Prahlad said that, his teachers were furious. They said, "Get a stick. We must beat him. If nothing else works, only such punishment." And they threatened him with so much harshness. And little Prahlad just stood there, didn't say another word. Then they dragged him into the classes. And weeks and weeks and weeks passed, and he was just sitting there in his classes. He looked like he was learning everything very nicely. And after some time, they thought, he's the best of all of our students. He's the prize of our school. Let us bring him before his father, and his father will be so happy with us. And when his father is happy with us, we'll get anything and everything we want, and we have nothing to fear. So they brought Prahlad to his mother, and his mother decorated him with nice clothes and ornaments, and along with the teachers, he was presented before his father, sitting on this big throne. Little Prahlad, he prostrated himself with respect. He bowed down to his father. He got up with folded hands, and his father looked at him. He's still 5 years old. He said, "Prahlad, please come and sit on my lap with me." And he picked him up, and he embraced his little son, and his little son was smiling, so affectionate. With moistened eyes, Hiranyakashipu affectionately smelled his little Prahlad's head and said, "Please tell me, Prahlad, what is the best knowledge you learned?" Prahlad, with so much affection, folding his hands in honor and respect for his father, he spoke the truth. Sravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam pada sevanam archanam vandanam dasyam sakyam atma nivedanam. My dear father, there are 9 processes on the path of bhakti. And by dedicating one's life to these processes, one could please the Supreme Lord. Hearing about the Lord, chanting the names and glories of the Lord, remembering the Lord, serving the Lord, personal service to the Lord, carrying out the mission of the Lord, worshiping the deity of the Lord, praying to the Lord, becoming a friend of the Lord, and surrendering one's heart with love to the Lord. This, I have learned, is complete knowledge. And one who is dedicated to bhakti in this way is supremely learned. Then he continued, Matirana Krishne Paratasvato va mitopi vidyet grihavratanam adanta gopir vishatam tamishram puna punashcharavata charavananam. My dear Father, I have some more to say. That those who have uncontrolled mind and senses and who are always seeking to try to find some way to enjoy through these material resources, they cannot understand God, either by their own efforts, with the help of others, or the combination of both. Hiranyakashipu, his eyes were getting redder and redder. His limbs were trembling. Little Prahlad continued. Nate vidu swarata katim hivishnum durasaya ye bahir artamanina. The supreme goal of life, my Father, is loving devotional service to Vishnu, to the Supreme Being. But unfortunately, people like you are so distracted by all these external temptations and that are everywhere in this world. And when a person accepts as their leader, like people are accepting you as their leader, who is addicted to all these external distractions, then it's like a blind man leading another blind man. They both fall in the ditch to suffer. Now his father is really like a volcano, just about to erupt. And little Prahlad continues. Naishamatis tavarurukramangrim sprishat yanartha pagamo yadartha mahiya sampadarajo niskinchananam navrinite yavat. But there's a solution, Father. If you smear every part of your body with the dust of the feet of those who love Krishna, those who love God, then you could become purified. That means follow what they're teaching. At this point, Hiranyakashipu was totally insulted. This gigantic, most powerful man in the world, he picked up his little 5-year-old child and threw him on the ground and said, "You have become my enemy." Just like a medicinal herb may not be born in our family, but we accept it with great affection because it helps us. But if we have a limb on our own body that's diseased to such an extent that it's going to spread and kill the rest of the body, then it must be amputated. Although you are my son, because you do not accept me as your supreme authority, because you are worshiping this God who is my enemy, you must die. He told his assistants, his soldiers, kill him by any means. And they tried. They threw him in fire. They pierced him with spears. They submerged him in the ocean. They tried to crush him with stones. They threw him off high mountains. They gave him poison. And little Prahlad, he never once prayed to be safe. He never said, "God, save me." He just prayed, "I'm yours, my Lord. Whatever is your wish, I'm yours. There was a great devotee who lived at the beginning of the 20th century in Bengal. His name was Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He had a wife, Bhagavati Devi, who was a great saint. He had 10 children. He was a magistrate in the British regime, a judge, but such a devotee. In one prayer, Maro birako bijo icha tohar nityata saprati tua adhikar. My Lord, if you want, you can protect me. If you want, you can kill me. I'm yours. I'm your servant. You could do anything you want with me. There's a beautiful verse that describes the heart of Prahlad. Narayana parasarave nakutasthana bibyate swarga pavarga narakeshu api tulyata darshana. A true devotee of the Lord, they just want to serve the Lord. Whether they're in heaven or hell, it's all the same. It doesn't really matter. They're just happy serving wherever they may be, in any situation. Such a person alone can have true, deep, lasting peace of mind and heart. That was little Prahlad. My beloved Guru Srila Prabhupada gave an example that in a rushing river, the strongest animal on earth, the elephant, when he tries to cross it, he's washed away. But a little fish could swim upstream, downstream, across stream, no problem. Now, physically, what is the difference between the strength in a little fish and an elephant? An elephant can just crush the fish with one little stamp. But in the river, the elephant is defeated and the fish lives peacefully. Because the fish has learned to take shelter of the river, and the elephant has not. In this material world, there's the tide of time. There's the current of the ever-changing experiences of this world. Adhyatmaka, adibhayik, bodhika, adidaivaka. A devotee who learns with humility to take shelter of the Lord can always be peaceful. Bhajahure mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanada Vindare. One great devotee prayed, my dear mind, please take shelter of the Supreme Lord's mercy. Then you become fearless. Little Prahlad was fearless. Nothing could harm him. And he didn't even try to protect himself. And he didn't even ask for protection. He just gave his heart. Sharanagati. He was happy. His father was completely depressed. I can't kill him. I can't even get him to be angry with me. I can't even get him to say anything against me. He just teaches me all these teachings. And he loves me. I can't get him to hate me. I can get anybody else in this universe to hate me, but I can't get my child to have any fear of me. Because I can't destroy him my efforts to destroy him will destroy me. He was just sitting in a lonely place with his head down in depression. And the teachers, Sanda and Marco, they came to Hiranyakashipu and said, why are you taking your son so seriously? He's only 5 years old. He'll grow out of this. Give him some time. Just bring him back to our school and we'll teach him the right things. He went back to school. He sat very respectfully, listened to all the classes. But one day, when the teachers gave the children recess and they left for some time, all the children gathered around little Prahlad and said, please, tell us why you're like you are. And little Prahlad began. He smiled. He was a child. He was not like an old man in a child's body. He was a child, very sweet, very innocent. He smiled at his children and very playfully, he taught them the highest truths. Komara acharit pragyo dharman bhagavataniha durlabam manasa janma tad apyatruvam artadam. My little children friends, this is the right time to cultivate your bhakti. When you're young, Komara, because we don't know when we're going to die. In this world, there's so many uncertainties. We shouldn't procrastinate and put the most important parts, most important, valuable things in our life last. We should put them first. We should organize and harmonize everything with what is most sacred. What is most sacred? Durlabam. You have this rare human form of life. You have all opportunity to understand and realize your eternal nature beyond birth and beyond death. You have the opportunity to awaken the ecstatic, pure love for Krishna in your heart. You have the opportunity. The highest dharma is to be an instrument of God's compassion to everyone. Always. And he gave them so many nice teachings. And the little children were convinced. At the end of the teachings, Prahlad said, I learned this from my guru, Narada Muni. The children said, how do you know this Narada? We don't know Narada Muni. You're 5 years old. The only 2 places you've ever been in your life is in your father's palace and in the school, because you're not allowed to go anywhere else. Where is this Narada Muni? And little Prahlad said, when my father was doing his tapasya, when he was at Mandaracharala, at that time, the great devas, they kidnapped my mother. They were waiting for me to be born so they could kill me, because I was the son of this tyrant, this terrorist. And Narada Muni came and said to all of them, the child within the womb of this lady is a Mahabhagavat, a great devotee. Give them to me. So Narada Muni brought me to his hermitage in the forest, along with my mother, because I was in her womb, and he spoke all these teachings then. And I could understand, and I have never forgotten any of his words. Now let us all utilize this wonderful opportunity we have in this world, because we don't have so much time for this highest purpose of self-realization. when the teachers came back, led by Prahlad, they saw all the children chanting kirtan. At this time, the teachers understood it's hopeless. They grabbed Prahlad, they dragged him back to his father and said, threw little Prahlad at the feet of his father and said, he has now polluted the entire school with his Dharma teachings. Hiranyakashipu, erupting with rage, he said to little Prahlad, who do you think you are to defy my power? Do you have such ignorance that you think you are more powerful than me? Who is it that gives you the strength to disobey my command? Little Prahlad, with folded hands, very sweetly said to his father, my dear father, I get my strength from the same person you get your strength from. In fact, everybody's strength is coming from the same source. Janmadyasyadhyataha, from Vishnu, from God. And then little Prahlad said, because of your uncontrolled mind, Father, you'll never be satisfied. You're always being completely conquered by these 6 enemies of egoistic desires. But one who conquers, not the world, but their own egos, that person will show compassion to all beings. That is the highest perfection of life. Hiranyakashipu, he stood up and drew his enormous sword. He said, Prahlad, you talk about this Vishnu, this supreme being. Tell me, where is he? And then, in a very sarcastic way, he pointed to a pillar. Is he in this pillar? Prahlad replied, he's everywhere, my father, within and outside of everything. Hiranyakashipu roared, then let him protect you now. And he charged at little Prahlad to sever his head. But on the way, with his mighty fist, he hit the pillar. Something happened. Do we have time to say? There was a sound that came out of the pillar. Have you ever been sleeping alone in your bedroom and there's a massive lightning bolt that goes like that, but not like that? Do you know how loud and lightning, it could shake the world, it could shake your house? Multiply that by billions of times. That was the sound that was coming out of the pillar. Hiranyakashipu never heard a sound like this. He was afraid. Prahlad wasn't afraid, he was smiling. From the pillar emerged the Supreme Godhead in the form of Nrisimha-Dev. He assumed an incredible divine form that had the head, the hands of a lion, and the body of a human being. Hiranyakashipu, but he was gigantic. Hiranyakashipu never saw anyone like this. But he was so proud of himself, so illusioned and intoxicated by his ego. Sometimes when people have so much money and so much fame and so much power, they just become deluded. That was what Hiranyakashipu. He was thinking, no one can defeat me. Whatever this thing is, I'm going to kill him. And he attacked. And there was a really good fight that happened. And then, after some time, when it was twilight, neither day or night, Nrisimha-Dev lifted up Hiranyakashipu and went right in the doorstep, which is neither inside or outside, and put him on his lap, which wasn't the air or the ground or the sea. And then he performed the first gastrointestinal surgery.
He ripped his belly apart and lynched him with his guts.
Yes, and in our Bhaktivedanta hospital in Mumbai, when we first began, in our surgery room, we have a picture of that surgery taking place. So when people go in their anesthesia, they're having the darshan of the Lord's mercy. And anyways, he just effortlessly liberated Hiranyakashipu. And he was the personification of anger. Nobody could pacify him, but little Prahlad just prayed to the Lord, and the Lord became completely peaceful and happy. And that's when Lord Nrisimha-Dev asked Prahlad, you have gone through so much out of your love for me. I will give you any blessing that you wish to be fulfilled. Anything in the world or more, I'll give you. Just ask. I explained to you what Prahlad responded, but he asked for one more thing. Please give liberation, the supreme perfection, to my father. He caused so much pain to so many millions and millions of people. He was probably the worst terrorist that has ever been on this earth. He was so cruel, savage. And nothing could stop him. Prahlad said, please forgive him and give him liberation. The Lord, Nrisimha-Dev, he said, Prahlad, he's already liberated. Not only is he liberated, but because of your devotion, I promise you 21 generations of all your relatives in the past and in the future will all get liberation. And at 5 years old, little Prahlad was then made the king because his father was gone. And he ruled with so much love and compassion. He considered everyone who was in his kingdom, in any species, of any race, of any religion, as his praja, like a father to his children. And he's only 5. He made the world God conscious by his compassion. And as he grew up, he married. He had children. And performed all of his duties in harmony with his love for God. The principle of bhakti is not to renounce our particular role in society, but to not renounce our egoistic attachments. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. He ruled as a king, but he did it in such a way that everything was pleasing to the Supreme Being. Natevidu swaratam gatim hibishnu. And by his example, he inspired everyone around to do the same, even to this day. Vasudev Dutt, that great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, he personified this same mood of Prahlad. And actually, that mood of Prahlad is the inherent nature within each and every one of us. Anandam buddhivardhanam pratipatam purnamrita svadanam. Muktanam abhisiddhanam narayana parayana sudulabha prasantatma kotishvapi mahamune. That getting material acquisition, supernatural powers, or even liberation cannot truly satisfy the heart and soul. It's only to feel God's infinite love and to be an instrument of God's love in our life that can bring true peace. And Lord Chaitanya taught that love is within every heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sajja Kabunoi. Sravanadi Sudhichiti Kodiyayudoi. By chanting God's names, by associating with people who are genuinely aspiring to love God, that love is awakened within us. Tasmad Sankirtanam Vishnu Jagan Mangalam Anghasam Mahatam api Kauravya Vidya Kantakaraniskritam. The chanting of God's names, this kirtan, cleanses the heart of all the obstacles that obscure our true spiritual nature. And therefore, the Srimad Bhagavat, great scripture, tells that Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names, is the most auspicious of all auspicious activities, because it awakens our true self. On this particular day of Nrisimha-dev's appearance that we are observing, we especially pray to the Lord in this form to remove the obstacles in our own minds and hearts that distract us from the true treasure and goal of our lives. Thank you very much.